YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. So it is another guide for today, guys, on B.E.S. So this is Bacterian Empire ship, and this is based on, or the cards are based on the game Gladius. If ever you played that one during the 90s, then kudos to you. Anywho, so this deck doesn't do much, but if you want a guide, this is the guide for you. So technically, there is no proper combo for this deck because typically there are no one-card starters for this deck, other than, of course, if you have a couple of cards on your hand that gains you access to more cards on the field. And what I mean by that is, we'll talk about it in a bit. So with the newer supports for the B.E.S, this is still fresh in the OCG, by the way, or it's still going to be released in the OCG. Luckily for Master Duel, we got it early. I don't know if that's a good thing or whatnot, but you know, I don't see that this deck is promising in a way. But so far, the three new monsters are as follows. Metal Slave, or B.E.S Metal Slave. You can send up to 5 level 10 or lower B.E.S monsters with different names from your hand and or deck to the graveyard. Spell summon this card from your hand, then place counters equal to the number of cards sent to the graveyard. So you can actually accumulate up to 5 counters for this. Once per chain, you can remove 1 counter from this card and target 2 cards. One should be a B.E.S monster to destroy. The other one is a face-up card, and it needs to be a face-up card. The other one, or the other new one, is the B.E.S Dillinger Core. You can reveal 1 B.E.S monster. You can spell summon this card from your hand, then place 3 counters. During the main phase, you can remove 1 counter from this card and activate one of these effects. Add 1 boss rush or spell or trap card that mentions it from your deck to your hand. And lastly, spell summon 1 level 9 or lower B.E.S monster from your graveyard. Typically, if you have Dillinger and a copy of Metal Slave, you can just spell summon the monsters back from the graveyard to your side of the field, which of course it is quite easy if ever you have the materials as well. So I think that's the newer card effects or the newer supports. I couldn't find the Armored Core here. So the Armored Core just states your opponent controls a monster, you can spell summon it to the field as an extra body. Now if you are unfamiliar with B.E.S and you're just watching this video just for the guide, typically, the B.E.S has archetype effects that lets them be normal summon without tributing or spell summon if ever your opponent controls a monster in the field. So if ever your opponent has a monster in the field, you can spell summon a copy of Blast Cannon Core. And lastly, the big core MK3. Now, the Armored Core that I was talking about earlier, I couldn't find it here, but it has a similar effect as the other two. And then if once they are summoned to the field, they can gain counters. I think the Metal Slave is the only one that can gain you 5 counters. There are 2 other significant B.E.S monsters that are particularly useful for the archetype. One is the Crystal Core. So during your main phase, you can change 1 face-up attack position monster your opponent controls to face-up defense position. And then the last one is the B.E.S Tetrain or Tetran. Once per turn, you can remove 1 counter, destroy 1 spell or trap card on the field. So that's basically one of the amazing bit of this card. And oh yeah, and every time they attack, they remove a counter. So the last one will be, of course, the spell card, which is the Boss on Parade. So when this card resolves, add 1 B.E.S monster from your deck to your hand. Second one, once per turn, you can destroy 1 monster on your hand or on the field. And if you do, spell summon 1 light monster with 1/200 attack and 1000 or less defense from your deck to either field. I think this just opens up your field for the Cannon Core and the MK3 to gain you access to more bodies on the field. Plus, you can use them for link summons because I think there are no locks into this deck other than locking you into a normal summon. Now, the only card that I'm talking about here that doesn't allow you to normal summon is a copy of Boss Rush. Now, this is a continuous spell that of course you cannot normal summon or set. And then phase of that turn that the B.E.S monster or a big core is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can spell summon 1 B.E.S monster or 1 big core from your deck. So that is basically the effect for the Boss Rush here. But other than that, the newer card is quite interesting, much more useful though. And lastly, for this effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, place 1 Boss Rush from your deck or graveyard face up on your field. So the game style for this deck doesn't really revolve around combos, but instead, well, it is widely used for Go Second deck as what I've seen so far. So you need to pair this with another variant that kind of helps out during first turn basis, especially on a best of 1 format like Master Duel. So that's Boss on Parade. Alright, so that is basically what you need to know about the newer cards. With regards to the number of copies, if you're running pure, I think the best way to play this deck is either you run a variant, because the pure is kind of whack though. You can't actually like play this properly on a pure version. But if you're planning on playing this on a pure, these are the numbers. So Metal Slave definitely on 3. Dillinger Core 3, Blast Cannon Core 3 of course. MK3, 3 as well. Now the rest of the BES monsters, other than aside from the MK3, you can run on 2, MK2 on 2, Big Core on 2, Tetran on 2, and last Crystal Core on 2. Now the reason for this is, well, you send them to the graveyard with the effect of Metal Slave. If you have them on hand, well, typically that's basically what you are dealt with. But that's BES for you. With regards to the spell cards here for the BES, you need only 2 copies for the Boss Rush. Some people are running 3 on the pure build. Boss on Parade, definitely on 3, because you can access Boss Rush for this. The Field Spell on 3 if you're running pure. And that's basically it for the whole archetype itself. The newer card, I haven't really checked on so far, but yeah, that is all that you can actually use for the BES core. I think there's still one more, hopefully it is added here. So this one is kind of new here. It's a pretty good support as well. So if ever we'll have this, then why not, right? It's a pretty good card to have. So at the start of the battle phase, you can spell summon 1 machine monster from your hand. And if this card is popped, usually you can just combo this one with the Metal Slave, pop this one, and then spell summon another monster with 1200 attack, and it gains 1200, and you can spell summon it to the field. So it's a pretty good card to have if ever you're going for an OTK. Nevertheless, that is basically it. For the core, that is what you can do with the pure version. For another variant, we'll talk about the variant in a bit. For now, let's move on to the tech cards for the BES archetype. Alright, so here we are with the tech cards for the BES archetype. So there are a couple, quite good in fact, but let's see if this is going to be relevant enough for the BES archetype. So the BES archetype is primarily played with another variant or a go second build. Now, the reason for that is because if you're going to run a pure version for BES in a best of 1 format like Master Duel, it's going to be very bad. So there are some other good tech cards that you can actually use. That depends on the variant that you are playing with the BES. So one is going to be the Deep Space Cruiser 9. You can spell summon this card from your hand by sending 1 other machine monster from your hand to the graveyard, a free level 9 body. Then you have Gameciel or any Kaijus for that matter. Since there are some builds that you can go second, Kaijus is one of them to remove 1 significant boss monster on the field. And then you just attack this one with your BES monster. Then we have another card, which is practically rare in Master Duel, by the way. Or the rarity of this card in Master Duel is rare. So if this card is in your hand or graveyard, target 1 machine, half that monster's attack, and then you can spell summon this to the field. It gains that monster's level as well, and you are locked into XZ monsters only, which is not too bad in case you are going into XZ builds. But so far, yeah, it's a pretty good card effect for machines. Then we have Planet Pathfinder for gaining you the field spell. And then the Ken, the Warrior Dragon, and again, the Diamond Tiger, widely used in Regenesis and some other decks that doesn't rely on normal summon. The draw 2 is really significant. So this is your normal summon for the archetype if ever you're interested. The next one will be Psychic Processor and a copy of E-Tally. Now, E-Tally is practically 3 copies in Master Duel, by the way. So you can have 1 or 2 copies of this in your deck. You can banish this card you control, spell summon up to 2 machine monsters from your hand. They cannot attack directly. And also, during the standby phase of the next turn, after this card was banished, you can add this banished card to your hand. I don't think that this is in Master Duel. Let me just check. Also a rare copy, so that's pretty good. And then we have Extravagance. Well, Extravagance isn't really like a tech card per se. It is practically a staple. Then, of course, the fan favorite for most of the machine decks support, Limiter Removal. This is an old but gold card. Double the attack of all machine monsters you currently control. The end of the turn, destroy them. Then we have Clockwork Knight. Now, I'm not sure if we'll get the Clockwork Knight as the Link one, but this is still pretty good as a solo spell card. So machine monsters you control gains 500 attack and defense. Also machine monsters your opponent controls lose 500. You can manage this card from your graveyard and discard 1 card. Add 1 earth machine monster. So yeah, you can search Blast Cannon Core. For the extra deck, since we are dealing with level 10s here, so number 77 is from number 35. We have also the Rail Cannon, the Super Dreadnought, Gustav Max, whatever. So these cards are for burning and dealing a buttload of damage as well, and they are all machine monsters as well. And lastly, we also have for the XZ monsters, number 20, target one face-up spell summon monster you control, gain life points equal to the original attack. Not the last XZ monster, but just as well for negates, since this deck doesn't really have proper negates, or doesn't really have negates, not proper, doesn't really have negates. Then for the Link monsters, you have double-headed Anger Knuckle, 2 machines as materials. During the main phase, you can send 1 monster from your hand to the field, hand or field to the graveyard, and target 1 level 10 machine monster in your grave, spell summon it in defense position. And lastly, Barricade Board Blocker, discard 1 card, gain access to the field spell. So that's basically it. Easy enough to actually do with the tech cards, but that is your B.E.S tech supports. And this is everything that I've managed to like compile so far in the web with regards to the B.E.S. It's quite hard, honestly, and that's where I know that this deck doesn't really have proper combos. But anywho, that is the tech cards for the archetype. Let's move on to the variants. Alright, so for the variants for this deck, like I said earlier, if you're gonna go for pure, might as well gonna go second for this build. So as you might see here, let's remove this one. Where's the can? There we go. So this is my build for the pure version. So 3 of each, blast cannon core. We're just running 2 MK3, 2 cord cores, things like that. Also, we're using the Viper cards as well. Hopefully we'll have this. If not, then you can just use 301. And then a buttload of go second cards. So that is basically it for the archetype. And you know, the extra deck is kind of expensive since you've seen most of them in Master Duel as UR copies. But it's up to you what to actually put here. I had a couple of substitutes if ever you want. Fossil monsters are good substitutes as well for Entes. Removal for spell and traps. You have also the Wagon. Pegasus is another good card as well. And Malong is an SR in Master Duel. So that is one of the pure builds that you can actually go into if ever you're interested in B.E.S. Let's move on to the second variant. Okay, so for the second variant of B.E.S, we have here Regenesis. Now, if you're running Regenesis, I do advise run 2 copies or 1 copy of Metal Slave, and then maybe a 1 copy of Dillinger Core. These are the extra decks that you can use. You can add the other ones that I managed to talk about earlier. And I think that's basically it. Actually, Extravagance is another good card. And if you're not familiar with Regenesis, you can check out the video in my channel. There is a guide for that one as well. So luckily, there are some of the B.E.S monsters that have 2,500 attack or defense. So that is Regenesis. Let's move on to the third variant. Alright, so for the third variant, we have here Machina. Now, I've seen this one online. I will post the guy's name on the screen here. So this is where I got the build from. I just edited some of the cards here, so it is practically similar to his. But yeah, this is the only variant I've seen so far that is using machines. And not just any machine, Machinas. So yeah, pretty good stuff. And anyways, and also we have the Therian cards as well, since Therian can actually give you a proper negation on the board, which is pretty good. So far so good. This is pretty solid for a deck. But there are going to be some tendencies that you are going to break on this. Honest to God. And also, I never thought that this one is a pretty good card. So you can banish 1 spell from your hand or graveyard and target 1 monster your opponent controls. Equip that face-up monster to discard as a equipped spell. Oh yeah, if you want the deck list for the variants that I'm showcasing now, it'll be in the comment section below. So with that, let's move on to our last variant. Okay, so for the last variant, it's very straightforward. It's similar to the pure version, but we are adding Horus into the mix. Just the Sarcophagus and a couple of Horus monsters in your deck. You can remove some of the other cards for a Zombie Vampire. Yeah, let's just remove a copy of, let's just see. Remove Malong for the Zombie Vampire, since we're dealing with level 8s. And you can also use the other Harbinger, the Photon Lord, as your 8s. But anywho's, that is the build that we're going with Horus. So what are your thoughts on the B.E.S archetype? We'll be showcasing the Quantum or the Super Quantum deck later on. Hopefully we can make a guide before Tuesday. But yeah, hopefully we can make it. Anywho's, that's it for today, guys. See you guys in the next video. Keep safe, good luck. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. See you later, guys. Goodbye. Oh yeah, there's no combo for this deck, honestly. Bye-bye.